All right, so this is the game. You went 6-0-7, 5 CS per minute. You played against a Cassio and Volibear. You had Lilia. First thing I want to talk about is what you want out of this and what your expectations are. So what do you expect to get out of the coaching, and what are your expectations for it?
I don't really know what to expect, but I do know for sure that from someone who has a lot more experience, they might have something special that I'll probably never learn, or just in general, really helpful information to improve.
Okay. That makes sense. That sounds pretty good. Just get a new perspective on what you could be doing better.
But I am somewhat serious about wanting to improve in this game.
What's your goal by maybe, let's say, end of this season, or long-term goal? Gold, diamond?
I want to hit around diamond, platinum by the end of this season.
Okay. Definitely sounds doable. Just one of the things I would like to first go over is, CS seems a little bit low. Even in a game where you won, you got 5 per minute, your average is 4. Pretty much every single champ you play, which is pretty low. Obviously, the lower in bronze, it's not as big of a deal because there's going to be a lot of fighting going on randomly. So it's a little bit harder too, but in some sense, you're not going to get punished for going for farm as much, and it's a lot easier to farm in a lot of ways. So you should be trying to. One thing I'd suggest is just go into practice tool and practice farming a little bit more. If you're able to. Do you watch any content creators?
Not really. I specifically people no, but I do watch Skill Capped and some Game Leap and Pro Guides.
Okay. I don't really use those or necessarily recommend them. One of the ones I'd recommend is Coach Curtis. I think he has a lot of good stuff. I don't know if you've heard of him, but I can link you his channel, but
I've seen some of his videos, and he goes really, really in depth about so many different things.
The best thing about him, he puts a lot of stuff out there for everyone to look at, more than just the people he coaches. He has a lot of stuff for the people he coaches only, but he has a lot of good guides out there, both for how to play and how you should approach the game, right? So there's 2 aspects to the game. There's what you physically do, your micro. Can you land your Q with Zed, right? Can you hit the triple Q? Can you land your R on Vex? Because if you do, you can get the resets. And then there's the mental of, are you going to make good decisions constantly? Are you going to tilt? Are you going to approach the game with the right idea? And of course, that matters more and more as you get higher ranks, But I think he has a lot of really, really good content, and I don't think he has. A lot of content creators have good content with a lot of shit mixed in, But as a first place to start, I'd recommend just watch a couple of his videos.
I'll start watching more of it.
Yeah, I found one of the best ways if you are really serious about climbing a lot and quickly. The 2 things you need to do is watch good content to know what you need to learn, and to play a lot. Because it looks like you started pretty recently last year, right?
Yeah, around like November, maybe October.
Okay, so yeah, you're really new.
But I feel like, well, this just for me, but I feel like I'm at an okay level for how much time I've been playing.
No, that's yeah. For you've been playing for a very short amount of time, so I think that's pretty good, all things considered. Did you have any friends helping you?
Nope.
Okay, so you just picked it up alone. No worries. Just trying to get an idea of how well versed in the game you are.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'd suggest just play a lot and watch some of Coach Curtis's stuff, and maybe find us some streamers to watch that you enjoy. But because a lot of what people will do is just let me write it down first. Right. So this makes sense, right? A big
Yeah.
problem a lot of people play is, oh, cool, I've put, what is that, 350, 400 games in this season, right?
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean you're necessarily better than someone who's only put 150 games in this season?
No.
It's about the quality, not the quantity. So you want to play when you're focused on the game completely. You don't want to like half-ass a game, right? Because then you get out of it thinking, well, I could have played that better, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you think you're not going to play well, maybe just watch a video, right? Watch some content, and that'll help you out a bit. And have a learning objective. Maybe the next 5-10 games you're going to play, just say, you know what, I'm not going to trade as much. I'm not going to track the enemy jungler as much. I'm just going to focus on farming, right? And while you focus on farming in those games, you're going to be worse at everything else because you're focusing more of your mental capacity on farming, right? So it makes sense you're going to be worse at the other stuff. And over time, it'll become muscle memory to get better at farming. And that's why I suggest just going into practice tool and practicing it, right? And then once you get good at farming, you're going to learn how to trade better, and you're going to focus on trading. And when you're focused on trading, you're going to be a little worse at farming that you already practiced, and that's fine. And then when you're good at trading, you're going to learn, okay, now I'm going to work on my roam opportunities and helping my jungler, right? And the list goes on and on. But it's important to play quality games. Don't queue up if you think you're going to play poorly, and try to learn every game.
That's something I've always been worried about. Like,
Mm-hmm.
well, this game I'm gonna focus on This game I'm gonna focus on roaming.
Mm-hmm.
For the next 5 games, I'm gonna just focus on roaming as much as I can, kill the bot lane, the top laner, and just get and really learn as much as I can from that. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm just worried that, well, now I'm going to lose so many other games. I'm gonna lose LP because I'm focusing so much on that, and then I might develop a bad habit of maybe doing too much roaming and things like that.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the things that you kind of just have to get a feel for how much is enough, and when it's a good roam and a bad roam. But I have that problem too, where sometimes I want to play for my lane, and do I help the jungler, or is it more important to catch a wave mid, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's something that just happens to everyone, and you get better. You're never going to be perfect at it, but you're going to get better and better as time goes on, right? So there's another thing is, sometimes it just feels really, really bad to play against something, right? You felt helpless in a game. Maybe you're against a big one is like Yasuo. Do you ever feel really helpless against it, right? A lot of people do, or Zed, or is there a champ you just have troubles with?
Not well for most players. I don't really have any sort of helplessness. I just go into my mind that I think this is like a mental thing where I'm so many times in my head I'm just complaining nonstop.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh my god, I'm gonna kill the Yasuo 5 times in lane, but then for some damn reason he's gonna somehow come back just from one shutdown, whereas for me I'm gonna have to do 3 shutdowns instead of just one, and then that kind of mental goes off, and
Yeah.
can sometimes throw me when it actually happens, or
Mm-hmm.
when I have the top laner was against a Fiora who go 0-10, and then I'm basically gonna be screwed because they're just gonna the Fiora is gonna destroy all of us.
We'll go to this later, but yeah, when something happens like that where you feel helpless, right? It's important to figure out why did it happen, not what happened, if that makes sense. If, for example, you tried to 1v1 the Yasuo as Vex and you ended up dying, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you died because you got ganked. It's important to be like, well, why did I? It's like, oh, I guess I got to be more careful about the enemy jungler, right? But the important lesson there isn't, well, I guess I just don't get ganked. The important lesson is, well, I didn't notice the gank. Why didn't I notice the gank? Did I not get vision? Did I not look at my map enough? And did Volibear just walk through vision? Did I not respect that he might be there? You know,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of layers to it. It's very, very important to figure out why something happened and really find the root cause of it, right? It's a good analogy I like is, say your car is out of oil. You go to the mechanic, they fill it up with oil. 3 days later, your car check engine light goes on and says, fill it up with oil. What a good mechanic or a bad mechanic will just say, okay, let me fill it up with oil again. That doesn't really solve the problem because it'll just happen again. A good mechanic will go and see, oh, there's a hole in the oil tank. Let me go patch that up. And that's the root cause, right? And we'll solve the root cause of the problem and not just the surface level. In the surface level of the problem in the example I gave you previously about getting ganked would just be enemy jungler not showing, just play safe. Surface problem would be, oh, Yasuo too strong in 1v1. I can't fight him. Whereas the root problem would be, oh, there's no reason for me to be stepping up that far in lane when I don't have vision, right? Or the Yasuo is just hit a power spike. I haven't reset in a while. Maybe I just play a little bit safe, give up a little bit of farm, right? Maybe the root cause is just, oh, you know what? I messed up my micro. I missed my E when I should never miss my E there, right?
Mm.
That's just one thing that's important to go over. And then another one you brought up was focus on winning the game. What's going to happen in the future?
I'm like,
yeah,
really, really struggling with trying to see beyond the surface within this game for some reason, because
can you expand upon what you mean by that or clarify?
Or like, I think right now I'm seeing it more as it's a somewhat simple game, when in reality there's hundreds upon thousands of possibilities and strategies and techniques that you can do when the game is as simple as just minions running down lanes with 2 neutral objectives and some camps. That's like really on the surface level. I mean, I'm slowly getting some other concepts down.
Yeah.
I know that there's these certain strategies that you have to apply, like prior and whatnot, but I feel like I'm just not really getting through the surface and really seeing just how many possibilities that can be done within one situation.
Here, one of the things that I agree with you completely. It seems in theory like very, very simple. You just kill minions or jungle camps. You get gold so you can kill the enemy. You kill the enemy enough, you can kill the towers, then you can kill the inhib, and then you can end the game, right? But doing that is a lot more complex. especially when you consider there's more than 150 characters, and it's not just your character that changes. You can play multiple, but there's also going to be the other 4 on your team and the other 5 on the enemy team, and the number of permutations is gigantic, right? Of the possibilities of the teams and champions, what each champion wants to do to get to that point is going to be different. Cassidon or Kale wants to sit back and let the game go on and just scale. Nidalee wants to end it immediately. Rek'Sai wants to end it immediately, right? Just a lot of fighting. And it takes a long time to learn what to do, and don't get discouraged.
I think I don't really want to make the excuse, but I've generally never been like a really serious gamer. I've been mostly just like a really filthy casual, like maybe screw around and just fucking Mario Party or just whatever games. But like this is completely different behind any other game I've ever played. Like it's probably more complex than what I used to play in Counter-Strike.
Yeah. I think this game's more complex than Counter-Strike in terms of decision making. This game is mostly decision making. It's not mostly micro. It's probably 90, maybe like 70 to 80% decision making, at least. You have to be good enough to, if you make a decision to go all in, you have to be able to land all your abilities, right? But it's the decision to know when is it a good idea to go all in, right?
I do make some calculations sometimes, like, well, if I wait, I know that if I go now from the wave, I'm going to lose probably 20 CS, but by the time I get back, I'll at least be able to easily bounce back the wave in time for the dragon to come up, or just like kind of small things like that. But nowhere to the level of, okay, the ward was placed there.
Yeah.
And I know that the jungler just came by the Raptors, and then the dragon's gonna spawn in 30 seconds while the rift tells 2 minutes, and then there's all these other factors that they're considering.
Yeah.
I'm not to that level yet.
I mean, that a lot of that comes normally to you after you've been playing for a long time at a high level. That's not something you need to even think about right now. That doesn't matter. That's way more complex than what I'm talking about right now. For you, maybe even that is more of a, once you start to get to Diamond, you need to start thinking about it holistically. I think right now, just things to focus on. Because I took a little glance at the VOD you sent before. I didn't go through it all, but here's
it.
Yeah, sorry, what were you saying?
That's also another thing that really gets in my mind, like how the hell am I ever going to play like the master players where they see, like I use Portal Fester to sometimes go to live games, and it blows my mind that they can like already the Urgot and Vex are already heading to the bot lane, since they already saw the Karthus coming from the red buff all the way down to the Tribrush by the red side. And it's just when I really slowed it down and I see how many different things were going on at the same time while they were calculating it, completely blew my mind.
I mean, let me ask you a quick question. Do you know how to drive?
No.
No? Okay, no worries. That's a...
Those like...
It's a good analogy. Or how old are you?
I'm 16.
Okay, no worries. Then I guess it doesn't really apply. One good one is when you first learn to drive, it's so complex, there's so much to focus on, but as you get more used to it, it makes more sense. You can kind of just autopilot while driving after a while. It's kind of the same with League. I don't actively think about, there's, I need to go bot here because there's going to be a massive wave crashing or something, or dragon spawning. It just kind of happens because I've played at a level where at one point I was like, oh crap, what is that play? How did they see that coming? I go back, I watch it, and I see, okay, that makes a little sense. And then it happens to me again. I'm like, crap, I didn't see that coming. And then I go back and I start to pick up a trend. And after a while, you do expect it, and then you do make the right decision, and it feels good, right?
Mm-hmm.
It takes a long time to get to that point, and remember, they're only people. Everyone was at your point. I hit bronze 4, I think, was the lowest I hit when I first started, back when bronze 5 was the lowest rank. And I've been pretty much everything. It's very daunting, and I remember the first time I was playing against a pro or an ex-pro, I was like, holy these people are so much better than me. How am I in their game? But they're only people. They have good games, they have bad games. It's don't let it get in your head. And if you play in a ranked game and there's someone smurfing who is that rank, just don't pay attention to that game. That's just an auto loss or an auto win, depending which team they're on. Mm-hmm. I personally like playing with people and against people who are a lot better than me, because it forces me to learn more, to play better. They're going to push you more than someone who's worse than you. You don't want to be the smartest person in the room, because you have nowhere to go but down. You have no upward mobility from there, right? If that makes sense.
Yeah. I prefer playing a lot with like silver players when I get the chance, because it really helps me get a feeling of what they're like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I remember when I first was playing, I was bronze, and one of my friends managed to one-trick Udyr to gold, and I thought, oh my god, this guy's the best player in the world. And I had another friend who played Cassiopeia, and I remember watching one of their games. I just spectated. You go to the league client, you spectate, and I was like, what are these plays they're making? That this is quite horrible, right? Mm-hmm. People make stupid plays. You watch a pro game, people fail flashes, people make horrible decisions. You watch streams and streamers, people make horrible decisions. It's the higher rank you go, the less often those bad decisions will be, and generally the less bad they'll be. Instead of just diving for no reason, they might fail to stack a wave and fail to roam, right? Mm-hmm. They might make a small mistake. But anyway, that's not as important right now. That's more if you're hitting plat or diamond, that's more when you should start thinking about those more advanced topics. The first thing I'd say you need to work on is farming. That's always going to be the most important thing, right? Mm-hmm. Always farm better, because if you go from, each minion is going to be, let's say, 15 gold. If you go from getting 150 CS to 200 in a game, right? So you get an extra 50 farm. We'll just call it 20 gold, because you're going to get an extra cannon. That's an extra 1,000 gold, right? It's just if you're going to be in the lane, it's a free way to make a lot of money and to get better.
Mm-hmm. I think some of it is also just improving last hitting, because a lot of times I'm just missing CS for no reason. Or even if it's like a bad matchup like Veigar, I'm missing way more CS because I'm choking. I'm thinking, fuck, if I get hit by the cage, I'm fucking dead. Mm-hmm. And then I have the confidence, that's what it is.
Yeah. Confidence issues. Just remember that the opponent is thinking the same thing, right? If the enemy is going for a last hit, they're worried that you're going to throw your E on them, right? And fear them, throw a Q and get EQ passive, right? Mm-hmm. They're thinking the same thing, right? obviously, again, just go into practice tool, just practice, set up a bot game, and just practice till you can get. I usually do the first 3 waves. I had to do this a lot because I play a lot of LeBlanc, right? And that champ is pretty difficult to farm with because she has clunky auto attack animation and just her autos don't do much damage. So I've probably spent at least 20 hours just in practice tool, just resetting the game and practicing first 3 waves. Can I get every farm? And it's 19 if you get everything. And then again, just catch side waves when possible. It's not as important right now. Right now, while you're in bronze, just focus on the laning stage. If you make a horrible mistake in the mid game, look at it, maybe ask someone questions about how you could have done it better. But right now, just laning phase is the most important thing. That's going to be where the most mistakes are, the first 7 minutes, because it's also about what can you replicate, right? If you can fix a mistake that's going to happen every single game versus a mistake that's going to happen 1 in 10 games, you want to fix the one that's going to happen every single game, right? Trades. You want to know when to go for them. A good rule of thumb is trade when enemy goes for farm and there's no farm for you.
I don't really see, well, I mean, they do, but I don't really see a whole lot of people trading with me. It's just the hit and run that people are doing right now in bronze, where one guy hits one and then
the other
10 seconds later, when their cooldown's already back up, they hit him. And then the other guy gets scared for no reason. It happens with me as well.
Yeah, I mean, one of those things you mentioned is when enemy has no cooldowns. It's important to know the enemy champ's cooldowns. You know, in the Cassio game you just played that we're going to go over, do you know what Cassiopeia's cooldowns are, roughly?
Her E is basically no cooldown. And I think it's like, I don't remember which one it was, W or Q, but the one where it goes like almost like a crescent.
I think that's her W.
The Q.
That's her W.
Oh, okay. It's like around 12 seconds, I think. I'm not sure about her R and Q.
Yeah, her Q is probably around a 4-second cooldown, I believe. 3 to 4. Her W is actually like 20 to 25 seconds. You don't need to know the exact cooldown, but you should know roughly how much. You know, if you're going to play Zed or LeBlanc and Cassio just use her W, that means you have a 24-second window to go for a quick trade, right? Cassio, as a champion, revolves around hitting Q and then running you down. If that makes sense, right? Because when she hits her Q, she gets more move speed and she'll get more damage and mana back on her E.
I always thought that. I always thought that she was just good at extended trades.
She is. But that's why. That's largely why, right?
And Vex is the complete opposite, where she wants quick, short trades and just run away.
Yes. So you've been able to figure out that you want short trades and they want longer ones, right? So
like even against the Smurfs I've been with, they abuse the hell out of me when I use the EQ combo.
Yeah. How I like to refer to this is kind of like key ability. So for key ability, this is the one that your kind of kit rotates around during the laning phase. For like Zed, it would be his W, his shadow, right? He's kind of useless without it. For LeBlanc, it's her W, distortion, to be able to dash around. For Syndra, it's her E, it's her stun, right? Do you know what Vex's key ability would be?
To like specifically get trades going, it's pretty much going to be always E for most situations, but once they start getting onto you, it's the W. Fuck.
It was a trick question. It's her passive, right? When you have passive down, enemy can just go up and harass you because if you use abilities on them, they'll out trade you because they'll do more damage, right? But if you have your passive up, you just fear them, you do a bunch of damage to them, and then run away without taking anything back, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of what I mean by key ability.
I don't want to say that I knew it in my head.
Yeah. No. I know what you mean. It makes complete sense, and you kind of intuitively know it, even if you don't actually,
like I
think about it. You kind of
know what I'm
realize,
saying.
I probably don't want to go for this trade until I have my passive. But you should really just think about it. Like, and in this in this game you played against Cassio, right? So what do you think her key ability is? And then
W.
why? Her W? Remember, her W is the ground.
Yeah.
That's the long cooldown. Her key ability is actually, I would say, her Q. Personally, it's a bit her W. It depends on the laning matchup, but I would say it's her Q because it gives her a short window to go for trades. But if she hits Q on you, she'll win the trade because she can run you down. If she misses Q, she'll lose the trade most likely, right? Obviously, you want to still not go for the extended trades, but if she lands Q and she's already in range to chase you down, it's probably over. As Vex, at least. Against a Zed, it's going to be her W, because then you can't use your Shadow. But as Vex, I'd say it's more her Q. And it's important to be able to think about, and I'm not necessarily saying this is one ability. It's more the combination of multiple abilities and different situations. Kind of how I said, against mobility champions, it is her W because it actually roots them. Or it doesn't root them, but it stops them it grounds them, like Singed W. Right? It stops them from using flash. You can't dash or anything else.
I find Q not to be as useful specifically as like a get off me or better for starting the trade.
For Cassio or for you?
Huh?
For you or for Cassio?
I think in general with Vex's Q.
Okay.
Because it's very easily avoidable.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's somewhat like the situation with Ahri, where her main window is her E.
Yes.
If she misses the E, she's completely fucked.
Yeah. It's not as big anymore after they took out the damage amplifier on it, but it's definitely still her key ability, right?
I remember before I was one-tricking Ahri, I knew that the moment I missed my E, the Yasuo would easily one-shot me without any trouble.
The key ability is kind of a very black and white approach to it, right? Whereas if your passive's down, that means you can't go in on Vex, right? That's very black and white, where there are definitely situations where you can. That makes sense, right? Even with your passive down, because the enemy's very low. It's more about knowing and thinking about when you can go in and when not to, and it's a good framework, if that makes sense. General rule, but you can break it. But you have to know when to break it in order to break it, right? And if you think about your key ability, if Syndra just wastes her stun, you have 15 seconds where you're able to just go and play very aggressive, and she can't kill you because she has no stun, right? Against Ahri, you said, as soon as you waste your charm, there's a huge window for the enemy to go in and poke you. They can zone you from the wave, right?
That's also back to the surface level thinking for me.
No, I'm listening, yeah.
That's it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It definitely comes down to the, oh, you see enemy here, so you go for trade. It's definitely more of a, it goes back to the having a hypothesis and having purpose. Okay. And then again, roams. I'm going to go say your roams and enemy roams. Your roams being when you roam and when you miss a roam. Enemy roams being when they do roam. Is there anything you can do to prevent them from roaming? Is there anything you could do to help your team live, right? Knowing when to track the enemy jungler and try to die less. That's self-explanatory. So again, like level 1, you're thinking your key abilities, your passive, your E. Are you serious? Just go for the farm. Try to make sure you get all 3 of them, as long as you're able to.
I don't know why I didn't use the E. Now that I'm looking back at it,
yeah.
At that moment, I was thinking, I use the E. It's a massive decrease for mana, and she has a huge opportunity with her E to destroy me out of lane.
Yeah, but also what I like to do is I like to auto them stagger when they're going to get low. So if I auto this one, you see it's already lower, it's going to die first. So if you auto this one and then this one a couple times and then this one, if you make it so that this one dies first, then this one second, this one third, right? Does that make sense? Yeah, so you, instead of just staggering, you auto this once so it dies sooner, and then you start autoing this one or this one, whichever one you want, just so that instead of, because this one dies first, but then these 2 die basically second and second at the same time, and there wasn't enough time for you to auto them, right? It's just something small, but if it's happening a lot, you know, don't be afraid to use your abilities or make it easy. So this is also huge because you see Cassia coming from here, right?
Yeah.
But she missed 3 minions. You're going to hit level 2 on 7th minion, right? She's going to hit level 2 on her 7th minion, which will be a lot later than yours because you have 3 before her, right? So you're this much experience ahead of her, right? Which is good. Nice try. Again, you going for farm. Now you have level 2, she doesn't, right? I wouldn't step up here. You don't want to play this side of the lane. That's a no-go. Because Volibear's here, right?
Oh, I never thought about that before.
You know, he probably won't, but he could. If you're gonna, you could play aggressive here. If you do, you want to play on this side. Because, yeah, you don't see where he is, but you know he's here. There's no chance he's up here, right? Because in order to be up here, he'd have to teleport, which would be cheating. And if he's cheating, you're going to just lose anyway. But, and again, like I said, you want to trade when your minions are low and going to die, and hers are pretty healthy, right? Because that way, when she goes up to auto attack this, there are a few things that could happen. One, you damage her. Or let me type this out. The first option is you damage her. She gets the farm, right? That makes sense. She goes for this minion, and you get an auto attack or an E or a Q on her, right? While she's standing still. Second option, she decides not to go for the farm, right? That she sees, oh, you're pushing up, you're positioning up here. She's like, oh, I'm kind of scared. I'm just not going to go for the farm because I don't want to take a lot of damage. right? That also makes sense. And option 3, this one is a very good option, right? You scare her by pressuring her. You know, you were saying earlier, you get in her head, you pressure up, but she still goes for the minion, but she mistimes her auto, right? And so you get to damage her. You take no damage back, but then she misses the wave. This is probably the optimal outcome, right? That makes sense. This one is also a pretty decent win, as long as you know when it's a good time to trade, right? So the 4th option is she trades back and then misses the minion. You push up here, and she decides, you know what, I'm going to go trade back with you, right? That's also good, because that means she basically gives up this minion, right? And I think it's a decent trade here, because you have 2 abilities, she has 1, right? You have level 2 stats, she has level 1 stats. You didn't show it here, but if you click her, it'll show her items. She started tier, so that means she's pretty weak early. You have corrupting potion, so you win these trades. So I want to see you walk up. So you go for the minion, you go for the auto, nice. But I'm not sure if you thought about why you go for that auto. Again, this minion is getting low, so she's going to go for it. But this minion's also low, so you probably want to focus on getting farm when possible, unless, you know, a kill's about to present itself. So I think it's fine to not go for a trade there. Again, she went for the minion, so you went for a trade. Not sure if he did this intentionally and knew that, or if it just kind of happened. But very good job there.
I did.
And then you run away. And also something we kind of talked about with champ identity. That's exactly the type of trade you want, where you do a short trade where you get to land your E, Q, passive, or auto. Very short, you proc electrocute, and then you just run away, right? Because she wants a long trade that's extended and gets to E, 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 right? So this was a very good trade from you. So good job. And
I've always liked, is there something that keeps coming to my mind where, well, if I trade with her, that's good. I'm getting her out of the lane. It's going to make it a lot harder for her to try to approach. But because I've been also trading with her, I hit the minions.
Yeah.
Means that it's slowly pushing a lot faster than what it would normally would if I were to just be last hitting.
Yeah.
It leaves the jungler a lot more open, which a lot of times causes me to lose games because because I'm so pushed up the lane, the jungler can just come and the mid laner gets ahead.
Yeah. Just a small thing. Don't use your W unless they're like, it's a big trade on you. If she uses her Q, it's not worth the mana. It's 75 mana. It's not worth it. Also, even if she hits it, it's not going to shield much. It's better if she's running you down because you need the shield, right? Or against like a Zed who W's on top of you. We won't talk about canon there. Happens. But like right here, you know she's... Look at this. Let's go back a couple seconds.
Mana?
What do you think here? What should you be thinking here? You're positioned very aggressively. You don't have passive for another 6 seconds, right? You have E and 3. Your cannon's getting low, and she's out of mana. Do you think she's allowed to go for this?
No, not at all.
No. But you walk up far just to go for a minion. You miss it yourself, you know.
Oh my.
And then after you got that minion, you walked away. Instead of, you can go for the minion, but if you're going to do that, you go forward, you stop, and then you go forward again instead of going forward, stop, and then go back, right? Again, this is conditional because you don't have your passive, so you're a little weak right now. But she has no mana at all. She has no health potions left. You still have 2 charges left. You still have a biscuit left. She has nothing. You should be heavy trading. There's a chance that her jungler's over here. He's likely over here still. So, because he took your jungler's red and went over there. but you should be playing way more aggressive here, right? And instead you just gave it to her for free. You positioned aggressively, you did the right thing, and you played up, and then you decided not to go for the trade. That goes back to trade when she's going to farm, when you have an advantage. You at least know that you trade when she when your passive was back up. But again, after that you walked way back here. You don't have your abilities, so that's good from you, but this is an exception to the rule, because even with your abilities down, what can she do to you?
And
she can
also really
she can use E once, and then auto you. But you have this. Why does it matter, right? Volibear's showing bot, but I already told you, hey, Volibear started here and he's going to go for his bot side. So again, you don't even need to ward. You know by process of deduction he's going to be here, right? So even if you're standing right here, what are they going to do? She flashes on you with an easy one, so you can flash out. Volibear can't catch you. You can probably just walk out from the Cassio, right? So you should be way up here, not back here. And the reason you should be up there is because she's low, has no health pots. She has, I believe she has Ignite this game. You have a lot more health, a lot more mana, and you have resource advantage, right?
And the minions wouldn't even, and now I think about it, the minions wouldn't really be doing much anyways. That's the one thing that made me go back, because of the minion aggro.
I mean, yeah, but if you think about it, even if you took 200 more damage from minion aggro, when she doesn't have enough mana to do anything really to you. And again, Volibear, we saw him going here. You might not have seen it, because he showed bot kind of short amount of time, but you already kind of know he's going to be here, and you can plop a ward up here into Raptors. But if you're just playing up here, you can play very aggressive. You're just letting her get all this farm for free, right? I like that you're going for autos. Nice. And again, you wasted W for no reason there. Now you just push this as hard as you can, fast as you can, so you can reset.
I used the W because I thought the tower shot would hit me.
Oh, even then it's not worth it, in my opinion. You should also just reset immediately instead of walking back, but that's kind of small. The only reason I say reset immediately, because you know Cass already reset, and their jungler won't really be able to stop you. You could always just walk around here on the map, right, instead of here. But it's good that you're making the safe call instead of the risky one, but that's more, you know, I played a lot. I know what they're going to do. They're not going to be able to stop you reset. But you wasted an extra 8 seconds walking. So we're going to speed up a little bit. Jump back to lane. Go for a quick trade. That's very good. But see how she sped up there when she hit her Q? So notice her animation. She sped up a lot, right? It's also not really worth using your W when she hits Q unless she's going to try to EU as well. That's because it's a lot of mana and her Q doesn't really do a lot of damage.
So what really is the purpose? Like, it is used for like trading and like really long combos, but specifically like the Q used in laning, what's its purpose?
Your Q or your W?
Cass's Q.
Cassio's Q. Cassio's Q is basically, if she lands it, she can run you down, right? So if you're playing right here in lane and she's here, and she lands her Q, she can land her E on you and do a lot more damage. Her E does more damage basically, and she moves faster if she lands Q. It's basically her condition. If she hits it, she can run and extend a trade. If she doesn't, she has to wait 3.5 seconds, and then she can go for it again and try to trade after, right? But right here, we'll go back to it. When was it? Right here. You're already far away. That's the very, very outermost edge of it. She can run, maybe get 1 E on you, But you can hold your W for the shield for her E, because her E is going to be what does the damage, not her Q, right? But notice how she doesn't go for the trade. She just kind of goes for minions, right? So again, you get hit, but see how little damage it did? It doesn't do much damage. It sets up the rest of her damage, right? It allows her to get more in. That's one of those things you get from playing more, but I do like what you do there. You have your passive up, so you know that you can position aggressively and zone her from these 3 farm. So that's good. That's something I like that you did.
I don't think I was thinking that at the moment.
Yeah, but now you're thinking it, now that I mentioned it, and it makes sense. Also remember, you using your abilities on the wave means you lose your passive now. Another thing to note, your set's going to die, Volibear showing top. That means you're not going to get ganked. You end up wasting passive and a lot of mana here. What you should be doing is if you just auto here for the next 5-6 seconds, you don't need to waste your abilities to get the minions closer to and easier to kill. If you just spend a few seconds autoing, you don't need to. And then you have your abilities up for this trade, right? And she doesn't win this trade, right? Does that make sense? If you were just autoing the minions here, I went back 10 seconds. For this 10 seconds, you just auto the minions. You walk a little bit, you stop and auto the minion, right? Then you walk a little bit up to pressure her, and then you just auto it again, right?
Because that way I would have had my abilities to...
You'd still have your abilities. You'd be able to thin out the wave, so it's not going to be... if it crashes like this, you miss this one, probably miss this one, you probably miss this one, you miss that one, right? But if you auto the wave, make it so that way you kill this one beforehand, before it crashes. We'll do different. You kill this one before it crashes, you kill this one before it crashes, and then you get this one to here, so it takes 1 auto shot, and then you can kill it with an auto. You get all of the minions without having to use your abilities, and that way she can't go for the trade on you, right?
So that's kind of like back to the decision-making thing.
Yeah, but the other thing that I want to talk about, which is assuming you made a mistake, right? You forgot to thin the wave. That's going to happen. It happens to everyone, right? But while you're in this position, you use your E, then you use your Q, and then what do? In this situation, you chose to walk up, right? And that allowed Cassio to be like, hey, I'm just going to walk up and trade on you because you're walking up for no reason, right?
So that's the same thing that happened with the reverse situation when she had no cooldown.
Yeah, exactly. But notice how you're walking up here. You're walking up this way. And then you sit and go for an auto, and then you're still staying up. If you just walked back here and then went for this minion, and then when this minion got into tower range, then you autoed it, she wouldn't be able to go for this trade. Maybe she'd get a little bit of damage on you, but she wouldn't be able to get her Q, W, E, and then another E, right? It's a little weird that Lily is doing this, but it's whatever. Again, you missed a farm, not a big deal, happens. You have your fear up. Honestly, I would use W there, or Q just to make sure you get cannon. But right here, you should be playing aggressive. You have passive. I've seen this. You have passive, you have ult, you have 2 corrupting potions. You should also have popped one of them since you're a little low, right? But the only advantage she has is that you haven't popped your corrupting potion and that she has ignite, right?
Yeah. I didn't bring ignite, so then I thought,
yeah,
well, maybe I shouldn't go for the all in instead of. Well, I think I do have to go for a trade, but.
But think about items. What do you have? You have extra health, extra mana health, and extra AP. She literally has mana. That's it. So you have item advantage on her. You have level 6 to level 5, so you have 4 abilities while she has 3, right? Let's just play it out and see what happens. You miss your E, you hit Q, you use W defensively, and you don't use your R, and you flash out, right? I don't know Vex's damage, but considering this is how low she got, 390, right? She hit 390, and you missed your E and you didn't use your R, right? I feel like you easily kill her with autos, especially if you ult while her E is in motion, right? Like if you ult and your ult makes you invulnerable, you dodge this, right? You can dodge this if you press R2 right here, right? And then you go and dash to her, right?
Her R is not really...
She doesn't have R. She's level 5. I'm talking about your R. The second charge of your R.
Yeah, like Vex R's. It doesn't really... Like the first initial throw, it at 6 right now. It only does 75 to 20% AP. So, and it's not really that impactful. Like if I were to use it now...
Maybe. You know, I don't really play Vex, so I don't know if you actually win this, but you missed your E. Also, you weren't using your corrupting potions when you were low. When you knew you had level 6 in passive up, you should have realized, hey, I'm going to hit level 6 soon. You know, this is the 3rd cannon wave. You get level 6 on the 3rd cannon wave. You can see your XP here is really close, right? And you're already level 5, right? You're kind of low on resources. Just pop a potion here. And notice when you actually go for the trade. It was 540. It was 540 roughly when you could notice that, right? And now it's already 550. The corrupting potion takes 10 seconds to tick. This one would have already been completed. And you would have been ready to use the next one, right? So you would basically have full health here, right? And she's missing that much.
I would have even gotten extra damage from the burn.
Yeah, you would have gotten extra damage from the burn. You missed your E here. That's really unlucky that you miss E. And missing your E means you miss your fear, meaning you miss out on autos, you miss out on passive damage. But if you are W, you get the gloom passive, you land everything, and you already had extra health, and you can get extra autos off that while she's feared, and the time that she's feared, she doesn't get to damage you, right?
I think maybe I could have been able to kill her. Maybe.
You know, right here, I don't think you do because you didn't pop your corrupting potion. But if you popped your corrupting potion
prior,
I mean, honestly, you could have known it right here when Lilia leaves. You know you're in a good spot, right? You're already low. What if, even if you weren't playing the all-in, what if Volibear's here and walks down? Then what do? You know, you want to be healthy because, but why flash if you don't need to? You have 2 corrupting potions. It's not like they disappear when you use them. You just go back to base and you fill them back up, right? I don't want to focus too hard on that. It's more of a probably should have. I would have done that play.
Let's see what you can.
And
when I'm looking at Vex's numbers right now, I think I could have been able to finish her off with not only the basic abilities, but the electrocute and the burn.
Yeah.
I would have been able to just barely make it through.
And again, it's not necessarily knowing. At this point, you don't know if you would win it. And that's a problem. When you're playing a champ, you should know, you know what, I should go here because I do win this, right? And that's part of the reason I would say I would go for it, because I want to know, do I do enough damage here to win this? Because I have ult advantage, I have a level advantage, I have all my abilities up, I have health advantage, I have corrupting pots, I have item advantage. So I really should win this fight. You know, it's not necessarily the fight that Vex wants into Cassio, because it is an extended trade. But because normally, remember, we talked about it and we want short trades. Right? But given all the advantages you had, I think it was okay to do. It's a little risky to stay here, especially when you can just reset and TP back.
Well, I wanted to collect the minions really quickly.
Yeah.
Get the, and I also had fear ups. I also had the fear ups. So I thought I was a little more confident.
It's just a little risky. But, and again, you walk back. You should just TP back here because notice how many minions you missed. The wave's pushing into Cassio. When you left, notice the wave was roughly even. And this wave missed. So you missed all of this wave and you missed half the next wave. If you just TP back, you get most of this wave. Right? Because notice how this wave is coming up. Enemy wave meets here. And now you've already missed half the wave. Right? So you missed more than a whole wave, all because you wanted to save TP. Which is okay late game, because Dragon, you want to be at soul fight or whatever, but in the laning phase, you just use TP. Because if you had Ignite, you go for the all-in against Cassio, but you took TP so you could play for the wave and stuff like that, but then you don't use it. In this time, I'd probably look to get wards out. That's a good trade. Unfortunately, you miss your Q and don't get passive, but you got her W too, which is good. You get ganked. It's unlucky. But yeah, you should be getting wards out. Yeah, you should pop your corrupting potions as well. Yeah, you get kind of lucky. Your Lilia just kills it, but
I actually didn't notice the Lilia coming by, so
yeah, you just got kind of lucky there. And again, here you need to just play very safe. Go push the wave and immediately reset, in my opinion. And honestly, I would just give that minion up because a good Cassio won't let you get it, and you just have to reset. But she missed her Q, so you can go for it, right?
Oh, I didn't think that through.
But a good Cassio kills you there because you went for the minion. Interesting TP. Not sure I'd say I could go for it. I would go for it, but well done. And yeah, you should just reset it. So right here, this is a little bit more advanced. You're bot lane, right? You just push their wave in. Cassio's going to push the mid wave in. You should ping your bot and say, go mid, catch this wave, and then they go bot, right? That's because that way someone collects this wave, right? Otherwise, Cassio's going to get plates, and that wave is going to be missed. Whereas if they go here, they collect the wave under tower, and then they run bot. They miss maybe one minion bot, but they deny Cassio plates, and they pick up this whole wave. Right? Because you need to just reset immediately. And this wave should crash. Yeah, you just leave the pink there too. But it's not a big deal. You sack a wave, it happens. But notice how there's this whole wave down here that you missed. You spent a long time buying too. And then you're missing part of the next wave as well. Okay. And again, you don't have your passive, so you should be playing a little careful here. Now she has no Q, so for the next 2 seconds, 2.5 seconds, you can play aggressive. Again, you had your passive up. Something small. But why would you use your E here when you don't have anything to follow up, right? So you use E here. A really long cooldown. So you get the fear and you get the damage on her, but then what's the point of using E when waiting for passive to be up? You can't use your Q to follow up on it and do any more damage, right? You want to do short burst trades so you can proc EQ, passive, electrocute, right?
I tried. Well, I think it's like a thing for me I need to fix, but I tried to slightly mix it up. That way, I don't think I know they're gonna go for the EQ, and then I can easily punish when I can.
Yeah. But what you should do is just, you shouldn't go for those trades unless you have damage to follow up, because it's not worth it, because that means you got a little bit of damage onto her, but that means now she's able to play aggressive on you for the next 20 seconds without much recourse because you don't have passive up, right? In this scenario, it's not as big of a deal because you're so far ahead of her. And you ended up getting lucky that she walked up to let you Q and passive her, right? But that's just her not being very good rather than you making a good decision, right? And again, you're playing very far aggressive. We don't know where Volibear is. You have flash, but I would be a little cautious. I would probably want to use my ward up on Raptors or up here so I can have a side to lean on, but just something to think about. So you should be playing around your passive a little bit more there. It was basically just what I was saying there.
So it should be more like or I don't really think there's like a good specific analogy for it, but more of a fear of it being used is worse than it actually being, like the fear of it being used is worse than the ability itself being used.
Yeah. So we'll go back here. That was a nice kill, but when was it? So it was here. So here, the threat of you using passive is more important than you using it here, right? So if you use it here, do you get much out of it? No, you just get that, right? Whereas the threat of holding it and not using it is greater because that means you can step up and she'll miss these minions, right? If she says, I'm going to call your bluff, you can just say, okay, then you'll actually use your abilities. You'll use that, you'll use that, and by then, hopefully your Q's already back up. You go for a quick trade, she loses it, right? So it's a win-win. If she calls your bluff, it's not actually a bluff, right? If you pressure using your passive and don't use it, she has to, I'll use a different color, but she has to respect it, and that's a win for you because she gets denied by these, and you didn't really want to go for the trade anyway because you don't have Q, right?
So I should just auto her to choke her.
You don't even have to auto. You just have to. You basically Cassio's range is we'll call it this, right? That's Cassio Q range. This isn't exact, but we'll call it that. You want to push yourself to the edge of it, and push her, make her uncomfortable, and make her walk back, which moves the circle back, right? That makes sense, right?
Yeah.
And basically, one of two things will happen. Right? So option number one is you E, fear. You E her, which fears her. Then you Everfrost, Q, and potentially get an auto if it's safe to do so. And then you run away. Taking very little damage, right? And in order to do this, you would teeter-totter a lot and then go up once your Q's closer. So you don't just immediately, you shouldn't be immediately just running just at her, no brain, while your Q's down. But position a little aggressive, right?
That way she doesn't just run off and lose my opportunity.
Yeah, because why should you be scared here? You have passive up, so that's when you can play aggressive. So if she goes for the trade back, you just go for a quick little trade and run away, and you take very little damage. Maybe you take one E and you W the E, so you shield it and then take very little damage, and she takes a lot. And option two
think about more of the long term then.
Yeah, you know, the threat of your passive is sometimes greater than actually using it, right? What happens when you use it, right? Now she can walk up. She does it pretty poorly to get hit by your Q. If she's good, she just immediately sidesteps it and takes no damage, right? But she walks into it instead. But you... So this is the outcome that happened. Right? You wasted your passive. You got a little bit of damage on her with E. Again, I don't care that she walked into your Q because that's not probably going to happen again. You can't bank on them making a dumb decision. You waste your mana, you get a very little damage to her, right? And now she can go up and get the farm because you don't have passive anymore, right? And now, because you don't have your passive, she can play very aggressive and potentially even zone you, right? So again, what does this go back to? Holding your ability. So let's think about this when you played Ahri, right? Are you better off holding on to your charm or just using it immediately off cooldown and missing it?
Saving it.
Are you better using your charm when it's up, even though you don't have Q or W? Or are you better off saving it to wait till your abilities are up so you can follow up on it?
Better to use when you have it.
Yeah. You know, it's better to... Yeah. It's better to save it for when the rest of your abilities are back up. Sometimes it's the threat of having it is better than actually using it, right? And that's just another one. Remember, this is looking on outcome-based. It looked like it was very good, but that wasn't. That's results-based. It wasn't actually very good, in my opinion. It would have been better if you were able to zone her from those minions and then potentially get a trade on her later, right? So did this all make sense? This whole zoning, the threat of your passive is sometimes better than using it off cooldown.
Mm-hmm.
You know, other situations where saving your key ability is good is, let's pretend that give me 1 second. Right, let's pretend you're this, right? You're the blue one and you're pushed up here, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't know where the enemy jungler is and you're worried that the enemy jungler is going to come in and gank you, right? You could go for a quick trade onto the enemy mid laner using your EQ auto passive, get electrocute, but that leaves you vulnerable to the gank, right?
Yeah.
The threat of having your passive means they're not able to gank you, right? Because you have passive, you can just fear them and run away. But the moment you use passive, enemy jungler can just go and kill you immediately because you're squishy, immobile, and you have no CC.
Mm-hmm.
So in that situation, the threat of having your passive allows you to play aggressive without actually using it. And then if the enemy mid laner does play aggressive onto you, you can use your passive to get a quick little trade, because remember, you want to get short burst trades and then run away. And ideally, you know, maybe right now you don't know, but you would know if the enemy jungler is coming from bot or top side just based on where they've been. You might not right now. That's something you can focus on later. But in this scenario, we'll say you think you have wards bot side and they might come from top side, right?
Yeah.
The threat of having your passive here is better than actually using it for a trade. Please consider liking the video and subscribing to my channel if you enjoyed this video, and I hope to catch you in the next one.